When discussing Aldi, most analyses revolve around one thing: low prices. But in this investigation, we discovered that the real story wasn't about the numbers on the invoice. It's in the buyer's perception, especially the elderly. While many American supermarket chains are pushing automation, reducing human interaction, and making grocery shopping a stressful experience, Aldi elicits very mixed reactions. Some people say, "This is the last place where I don't feel like I'm bothering anyone." But some people also ask, why are things changing without anyone explaining? So, what's really changing at Aldi? And why weren't those changes clearly stated or explained? Yet they affected each customer group very differently. This video is a quiet exploration. We will trace small changes, seemingly harmless design decisions, to understand why Aldi has become a cornerstone for many seniors and, at the same time, a new challenge for those who haven't adapted in time. This is the story behind Aldi that very few people talk about. For many years, Aldi has been associated with a very simple label: the discount supermarket. But when you take a closer look at how customers talk about Aldi today, a different truth gradually emerges. They don't say Aldi is the cheapest place. They say, "I choose Aldi because I don't get ripped off." In the modern retail world, low prices rarely stand alone. It often comes with familiar tricks. Low prices, but you have to buy a lot. Large printed numbers, but small print conditions. Or offers that make you stop and calculate. But Aldi almost doesn't play that game. You don't need to buy 3 to make it cheaper than 1. No tricky price list that forces you to read it twice. It doesn't feel like standing at the checkout counter when your mind is still doing math. An elderly customer even said very bluntly, "I don't want to beat the system. I just want to know how much I'm paying." That's the biggest change that many people don't realize. Aldi has shifted from competing on price to competing on transparency. Imagine it like this for easier understanding. Going to the market in many places is like stepping into a dimly lit casino. Everything is designed to make you make quick decisions before you have time to think. And Aldi is like a brightly lit room with few choices. No stimulating background music, and no one whispering, "Buy more." Many people are even willing to pay a few dollars more at Aldi just to avoid that feeling of fatigue. It's not because they have too much money, but because they want to retain control. And for the elderly, that's especially important. They don't hunt for the lowest price. They seek a sense of security from not being manipulated. The question is, if not cheating is Aldi's true competitive advantage, then what are the other systems relying on? What do you think? Do you go to Aldi because it's cheap or because you don't have to be on your guard? Leave a comment, and if you want to understand the changes hidden behind the checkout counter more deeply, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. In the next part, we'll talk about something that seems small but has a big impact: why long lines at Aldi make people less tired than short lines elsewhere. You can see this familiar scene in many American supermarkets. There are only 3 or 4 checkout lines, but the wait time stretches on endlessly. It's not because it's crowded, but because everything happens slowly, messily, and unpredictably. Then you walk into Aldi. The line might be longer, but strangely, the feeling of fatigue was significantly less. This is not random. During our research, we discovered that Aldi doesn't measure wait times in minutes, but rather uses a very different metric: the number of items scanned per minute. Simply put, in many supermarkets, the checkout counters resemble a busy road without traffic lights. The car kept stopping, starting, and stopping again. At Aldi, it's a conveyor belt that runs smoothly, without sudden acceleration or abrupt braking. And perhaps no one has revealed to you that the secret lies in the small details. Most products have multiple barcodes, so cashiers don't have to rotate, flip, or search. The goods are loaded directly into the vehicle without interruption for bagging. And most importantly, the cashier gets to sit. It may sound trivial, but for the elderly, this means a great deal. A cashier sits to help with more stable operations and a more even work pace. No stress, no rush, no mistakes. One customer described it very accurately: "I can tolerate waiting for 5 minutes, but I can't stand 15 minutes of chaos." That's the difference. Aldi doesn't make you wait less. They make waiting more pleasant. In a context where many retail chains optimize by cutting staff, increasing pressure, and pushing experiences to the limit, Aldi chooses a different path. Controlled speed, rather than fast at all costs. And for the elderly, speed is not just a convenience. It reduces stress, fatigue, and the feeling of slowing others down. What do you think? Do you hate waiting a long time? Or do you hate the feeling of chaos while waiting? Please leave a comment below. In the next section, we'll touch on something even more sensitive: why Aldi still makes many seniors feel respected, while other places don't. In many modern retail chains, returning an item can sometimes feel like entering a light interrogation. Where's the bill? Why pay? Are you sure it's a product defect? But at Aldi, that experience unfolds according to a very different script. We discovered a little-mentioned detail that repeatedly surfaced in customer accounts, especially from seniors. Aldi defaults to trusting you first. The policy they call double guarantee sounds simple. If you're not satisfied, Aldi will refund your money and exchange it for a new product. No need for a long explanation. There's no need to argue right or wrong. Financially, this is not a small decision. Imagine each refund is like a coin falling out of your profit pocket, but Aldi accepts that in exchange for something else. Long-term trust. For the elderly, being suspected, even slightly, is enough to make them not return next time. It's not about the money, but because of self-respect, Aldi seems to understand this much better than many other chains. Employees don't need to be overly friendly, they just need to be kind and consistent. Not the fake friendly type, but it's the feeling. We know what you're doing here, and we're not making things difficult for you. In an increasingly automated retail world where humans are often seen as a variable that slows down systems, Aldi does the opposite. They design their systems to minimize human-to-human contact. Less doubt, less stressful. I feel less pressure to prove myself right. And perhaps that's why so many seniors say they return to Aldi. Not because of the prices. In your opinion, what's more important when shopping? Being a little cheaper or being more trustworthy? Leave a comment. And if you like the way we break down these seemingly small details, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support us. A small gesture, but a big encouragement for our team. Thank you. In the next part, we'll touch on an even more sensitive question. Does the warning to the elderly really concern Aldi? Or does it speak to the fear of being left behind by technology? Come on! Now let's talk more about the phrase, "Senior beware." It sounds like a direct warning, but when we followed up on feedback from older customers, we realized something surprising. Their concerns weren't aimed at Aldi. What some seniors find frustrating isn't the price or the quality, but the feeling of having to navigate an increasingly automated world on their own. Self-checkout. Fewer employees, more screens than people. These factors, for young people, are simply convenient. But for older people, they're like a surprise test. Given without any warning, one customer said bluntly, "I'm not stupid, I just don't want to have to learn a new system every time I go to the market." This is the key point. The real fear isn't technology itself, but the feeling of being pushed to the sidelines, of being seen as a factor slowing down the system. Imagine going to the market is like walking down a familiar road for 30 years. Then, one day, they took down the signs, reversed the direction of the road, and said, "Just find your own way," not immediately dangerous, but enough to make you hesitate. Aldi is not immune to that change. They also optimize, streamline, and reduce staff. But what makes many older people react less negatively lies elsewhere. Aldi doesn't constantly change its interface, not updating the system every quarter. Don't force customers to keep up with the speed of the machines. In other words, Aldi changes more slowly and predictably. Therefore, the warning for seniors isn't really about Aldi. It's about a society that's moving faster than many people's ability to adapt. And it was precisely in that context that the things Aldi deliberately retained, from the payment methods and display styles to the way they treated customers, began to take on an entirely different meaning. In your opinion, what makes older people more tired? High prices? Or the feeling of always having to keep up with a new system? In the next part, we'll look at what Aldi has retained and why those outdated things have become their biggest advantage. When observing the Aldi parking lot, there's a small detail that many people overlook. There are no car collection staff. There was no chaotic clashing of metal, only neatly parked cars. And a quarter. At first glance, it just seemed like a cost-saving measure. But when we dug deeper, we realized this isn't just a mechanism, it's a choice about human behavior. A quarter is not large enough to be uncomfortable, but enough to remind you that this car needs to be returned. Not because they are being monitored, and because you know someone will need it after you. In many other supermarkets, shopping carts are left scattered around like abandoned objects. The underground system said, just leave it. Someone will take care of it. At Aldi, the system whispers a different message. You are part of this circle. And the interesting thing is, from that very simple mechanism, small social behaviors began to emerge. People passed the car to each other. The person who arrives first leaves the car for the person who arrives later. Some people say they were helped by a stranger who gave them 25 cents. And they still remember that moment vividly. No one in those situations talks much. There are no dramatic gestures. It's just a very small kindness, but enough to break the sense of anonymity that modern shopping often creates. For the elderly, such moments have special significance. They say, you don't disappear into the system, that you are still seen, even if only for a few seconds in the parking lot. Aldi doesn't advertise this. Don't turn it into a slogan. But by retaining things that other societies have abandoned, self-awareness, a slow pace of life, and minimal but genuine interaction, they have inadvertently created a small, non-anonymous community. Have you ever experienced a very small act of kindness at Aldi? A car? A gesture? A look? Please share it with us. In the next part, we'll delve into something else that Aldi intentionally keeps limited. Why fewer choices make many people, especially seniors, feel less overwhelmed when grocery shopping. Entering a traditional supermarket, you might walk past dozens of meters of shelves just to buy a bottle of sauce, 20 brands, 15 price levels. The packaging is constantly screaming with colors and large letters. That feeling isn't shopping. It's like being surrounded by choices. Aldi is the opposite. According to operational documents, the average Aldi store only sells about 1,400 items. Interestingly, Aldi doesn't see fewer choices as a shortcoming. They see it as a deliberately designed feature. Fewer products mean fewer decisions. Fewer decisions mean fewer shopping mistakes. And this is especially important for the elderly. Imagine the brain is like a phone battery. Every small decision drains a bit of energy. By the time you reach the checkout counter, you're not tired from paying, you're tired from having made so many decisions beforehand. Aldi cuts off the tiring part. They don't make you compare 12 types of milk. They pre-select a few good enough options and then let you get on with your life. For the elderly, this is not just a convenience, that's staying awake. What do you think? When shopping, do you want more options or fewer wrong decisions? In the next part, we'll look at another paradox. Why is Aldi cheaper, yet it doesn't feel cheap? And where does that come from? When a product is significantly cheaper, our natural reaction is to be suspicious. If it's cheaper, it's probably worse. In retail, it's almost a deeply ingrained prejudice. But when you take a closer look at Aldi's private label products, especially the spices, the story begins to take a different turn. Many spice jars at Aldi are produced in the very same factories that supply major brands. Same production line, same ingredients, same control standards. The difference lies in something intangible but very expensive. Marketing. Aldi cut off that part. No heavy television advertising. No complex packaging. No lengthy brand story. The result is that the selling price can be only about a quarter of that of luxury brands, but the user experience doesn't change as much as people think. For many seniors, brands are no longer a tool for self-expression. They don't need to show off. They need something that works exactly as promised. Aldi is betting on that. They don't ask you to believe the story. They let you verify it yourself with each meal. And when trust is built that way, cheap no longer feels cheap. It feels logical. So, in your opinion, if two products are made in the same place, to the same standards, what are you paying extra for? Quality or the peace of mind that the brand provides? In most supermarkets, the shopping experience is designed in a very clear direction. You follow the flow, make quick decisions, and leave with the feeling that you've spent more than you intended. Breaking system? You're not sure. But at Aldi, there are small gaps, quiet, unadvertised, where customers can regain control. The first secret is right at the checkout counter. One box is slightly dented, a package with a torn corner. A scratch doesn't affect the quality. In many places, that's a reason to skip it. At Aldi, it's a quick negotiation. Just ask politely, and the cashier is allowed to adjust the price on the spot for damaged packaging. No need to manage, no form needed. A decision in seconds, like finding loose change in an old coat pocket. It's small, but enough to make you smile. The second secret concerns timing. Wednesday at Aldi isn't just midweek, it's the day the system refreshes. Aldi finds are here, limited quantities, no restock, arriving early. You feel like you're entering a back door to an internal sale. If you're late, you'll only find empty shelves and what-if stories. And then there was a third secret, the quietest one. Aldi doesn't accept coupons, but your receipt isn't useless. With just a few popular cashback apps, every trip to the market feels like picking up every coin that falls on the street. Not much at a time, but accumulated over months. It's enough for a free meal. The common thread among these tips isn't the amount of money. It lies in the feeling of understanding the game. Have you ever used any of these tips, or do you have your own secrets at Aldi? Leave a comment, and if you enjoy this kind of small gap peeling, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. In the final part, we'll touch on the biggest question. Why, amidst all these changes, has Aldi become the ultimate safe haven for so many seniors? When you put all the pieces together, price, speed, treatment, number of choices, little-known tips, a larger picture gradually emerges. And the biggest surprise wasn't in a specific policy or number, it's about feeling. In the context of prolonged inflation, technology constantly changing how people interact, and increasingly unpredictable prices, many seniors are no longer seeking the best place. They look for the least harmful place. Aldi is not perfect. They don't have all the options. They don't make everything as convenient as some of the larger chains. But Aldi has something increasingly rare in modern retail. Predictability. Prices don't fluctuate. The checkout counter doesn't turn into a test. The staff don't make you feel like you're bothering the system. An elderly customer said a very short sentence, but it summed it all up. I knew I wouldn't be cheated here. That saying doesn't talk about price. It's about the remaining faith in a system where so much is designed to speed up, force purchases, and test human adaptability. Aldi unintentionally becomes a buffer, not a place of victory, but it's a place where you don't lose. And perhaps that's why the title Senior Beware is so intriguing. It's not because Aldi is dangerous, but because the surrounding society has become too difficult to navigate. In your opinion, when you go to the market, what makes you return to a place, lower prices, or the feeling of being protected from unnecessary surprises? Leave a comment, and if you want to see more teardowns like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The story of Aldi could end here, but the story of how we adapt to the new world is not yet. Aldi is not a perfect supermarket, but through every small detail we've just dissected, from the prices, the speed, the treatment, to the things they deliberately hold back, one thing becomes clear. Aldi isn't trying to make you beat the system. They're just trying not to make you lose. And in an increasingly unpredictable retail world, with so many people, especially the elderly, that was more than enough. What about you? Do you go back to Aldi because it's cheaper? Or because you feel like you know what's going to happen? Please leave a comment sharing your experience, whether positive or negative. It's those very perspectives that make this painting more complete. If you're interested in system analysis content and uncovering the subtle changes in everyday life, Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next reports. The video content is analytical and synthesized from consumer experiences and is not intended to attack or provide financial or shopping recommendations for any individual. Actual experiences may vary depending on the region and time. Thank you for following, and see you in the next stories, where things that seem ordinary are worth questioning.